Welcome to Door Monster's Tiny Table, where we all sit around a tiny table and talk about Door Monster. I'm here with Allison and Matt again.
Hello.
It feels especially tiny today.
It does. I feel like it shrinks every single time.
How does it do that?
I wash it every time after we're done, and then it just gets a little bit smaller.
The table?
Yeah, the whole table.
Yeah.
Just throw it in the dryer, and then it shrinks. Yeah, hi. We're on a third one of these. And today we were going to talk about the Freddy Fazbear Experiment, which is a video that
Nobody watched.
dramatically underutilized most of our current acting force.
That's not true. I was not dramatically underutilized.
What are you talking about?
I couldn't. That was the first time I ever said anything on camera ever in my entire life.
Yeah. I mean, sure, but I just mean in comparison to now, like it was like the starting point of a lot of different familiar faces that have shown up.
I was not a superstar
on,
then, like I am now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, crazy.
And then we had Matt playing just like a guy, I guess.
Well, that might have been the first day I met you.
It's when you met her.
Yeah.
I don't even remember why I contacted you specifically.
I feel like it was like
day,
Caesar told you to call me or something. You were like, we need bodies.
Yeah, it may have been.
You definitely didn't want me specifically.
I was only there because I was madly in love with Kyle. Deeply madly.
I'm trying to remember like stuff about that day. I know that I remember contacting the Art Institute to try and use one of their classrooms again, and that was the last time I was ever there. I assume I just did Freddy Fazbear because that was popular at the time, and I'd like seen enough YouTube videos of it.
I had never heard of it. I had no idea what it was.
This was close to 10 years ago. Was it 2014 or something?
Yeah, it was a long 2015, I think, probably is when it had to have been, and it was just kind of a filler video. I guess it was very weird to watch it again because it feels incredibly different from any of other videos. It's not one that I go back and rewatch very often.
No.
It's very slow.
It's slow, it's dark, it's long.
I don't know if I feel like it's not joke heavy. It's just more like tight writing heavy. Like if you were just into like tight writing back then.
I'm really trying to remember why I decided to make it in the first place or make it that way.
I think I remember you talking about making it specifically because it was popular, which is not something you did very often.
Right.
Because you didn't like it. You didn't play it. Nobody in the room liked it or played it.
Right.
It was not anything that piqued anybody's interest who was there. So I assume it was your attempt of like doing something trendy.
Right. I guess
which you do occasionally sometimes.
I needed to. If I come up with a good idea. And I think my idea behind that one was just that it was like
it's funny.
Too perfect of a setup, so that I think that's where I got the idea of like, okay, well, this is clearly like a prank someone's pulling on, on whoever the employee is, because why would this place exist like this otherwise?
There's so much accidental lore that I had no idea about that just got built over time. Like I didn't even get on TikTok till 2020, but there's a huge
for the game.
Yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's. Like,
yeah.
But they're like deep in the sauce. Like they know like everything about it and each like animatronics and their history.
The game itself, that could be that's a whole conversation because the whole culture surrounding the game is very strange.
I didn't even know what YouTube was back then. No, really, I didn't get on YouTube till I don't know, about maybe like a year into our relationship.
Yeah.
I was definitely one of those people who's like, did you see this YouTube video in 2014? And I like bring it up and it's that like evolution of dance video. I'm like, y'all see this? It's so crazy funny.
YouTube is why it blew up for sure. Because it was being played it was like at the height of the Let's Play channel on YouTube. And everybody played it because it was incredibly easy to make like one solid video of.
What is a Let's Play channel?
Like I'm going to sit down and play video games. Like it used to have a name
Twitch
because it wasn't. Yeah.
Oh, but it was
called
on
Let's
YouTube?
Plays. And it wasn't live. It was just
you pre-recorded it. It's what the Yogscast came from. Like
I'm pretty sure that's why PewDiePie exists, is from Freddy Fazbear.
Most
other
of the
scare me scare me games.
I would say a lot of people who are still big now, like Markiplier and Yogscast is still around. I guess they're not quite as big as they used to be, but like that was the thing to do in like 2013 to 2016 roughly.
Yeah.
Was just pre-record playing video games, and that game was perfect because it was so bite-sized. You could just sit down, record this thing that you were guaranteed gonna have funny reactions to, and you either win or lose in half an hour, and then you just upload that whole thing. So everyone did it.
Yeah.
It was also I remember watching Let's Plays in my college dorm in 2009. So it's like they have a legacy.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
Which is like 3 years after YouTube started existing. So they've been around. Twitch ain't new, folks.
It's weird that they used to be like a category though and not the default. Like that just feels like one of the things that's almost like a social media format now is like you have Twitter and an Instagram, and also you play video games on Twitch on Fridays or something. That's just one of the things that you do.
Why did I look like that? I had like a current Karen hair.
Yeah,
with
a little bit.
Short in the back and long.
Everyone in that video is unrecognizable.
But then I'm wearing a floral peplum shirt. You know what peplums are?
No.
Yeah.
It's shirts that go down to like your waist and then turn into like a little skirt. Like they have little like a little.
Oh yeah.
But it's not big enough to be a
I remember
skirt.
you
Still gotta
having
wear
some of
pants.
those.
Yeah, it just has
It
a
just
little
has
like
a little frill.
Yeah, exactly. At the bottom of it. But I was what, like 20? I was like 21.
Oh, baby, you still had your lisp.
I did have my list. So, did we find the video? Did we find the video that that it stopped at? Backdoor did a long time ago.
No, well, I don't know if it has stopped because we literally just watched one that, in my mind, when it came out, it was gone. But you have more of it there than you do now, too. It's been gradually disappearing for
Which video?
years. I don't remember. You were just playing
X-Files?
one. I think it was X-Files, yeah. That wasn't that long ago. And I remember when we were shooting that felt like you didn't have the lisp at that point in time.
Yeah.
I feel like that was very long ago. It must have been like 5 years ago.
I mean, yeah, no, it was like, yeah, it definitely was longer ago than it feels like.
Yeah.
But I still remember at that point us making these same comments about how your lisp had disappeared.
It's so weird.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Very.
I don't know if that's very common. I don't know if anybody else listening has.
I was also
has the lisp in his head.
promised I wouldn't have to speak that day.
Oh, on
set?
on the Freddy Fazbear video. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
It's guilty laughter.
Yeah.
but you did great.
I don't feel bad about it. It's been years.
You told me that then too. You're the only person
Because
hyping
you were having
me
a
up.
panic attack.
I was freaking out.
No, I definitely like completely disregarded you that day. I just needed people on set to fill out the room, and I asked you, and you showed up, and then I was just doing my job.
Yeah, you were just an actor.
That was so mean. I had been in plays like growing up. I was in like musicals and stuff and all of my middle school things, and so I knew what it was like when I did perform, and it was always bad. Like forget my lines, sing off key, kind of bad. And I hadn't done it in years, and I was able to forget. You know, you move past it. You're 20. You don't have to think about it anymore. Now you're cooler.
Yeah.
Now you're peplum wearing, Karen having. And then you asked me you said that I was going to have to do a line. And then you were like, you don't really have to do it. Promise you don't have to do it.
Yeah.
And I nearly cried
I remember
on the
asking.
spot.
I remember presenting it as an option.
Yeah, except there wasn't anybody else who could do it. So it wasn't really that much of an option.
I remember saying I could cut the line if it wasn't going to work. I just wrote it in as a potential option.
And then you looked at me with your little Kyle face. How he got everybody to do everything. You know the face of you've seen it, but like you go, oh yeah, you don't have to do it. And you just kind of like look at him.
I have always meant that they don't have to do it.
I know, but it's like kicking a puppy when you say no. You just have this like little face on you where you're like, yeah, I don't have to do it. Okay, well, I guess I'm doing it then. Fine, screw you.
Well, you did a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna start acting. I texted you last night and went Matt, and then I went Mitt. I was thinking about I'm thinking about like acting in other people's projects, like little tiny projects in Austin, because I like it. I like acting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't have any experience other than like the YouTube channel stuff. So I was gonna ask you if you could do a scene with me, and then we could film it like we actually did it, not just like a green screen room,
Like
or
an
whatever.
audition tape.
Like an audition tape, but
But it'll still look better than
that
most
we
film
pretended
students'
we were
movies.
filming as like part
Oh,
of the
so we
scene.
pretend we just put a title on it. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
exactly. Like, oh no, we were just actually reenacting this scene fully
yeah.
for something.
The Bathtub Murder 2021.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, we can do that.
I was gonna ask you because my actual reel that I did put together from Door Monster is mostly Kyle.
Yeah, that's true. We tried picking stuff out, and Allison has a pretty good range of things. Again, we were comparing it to actual acting reels, which we've seen a ton of at this point, and it's just not a high bar to try and beat for the most part.
Yeah, I was gonna do like little free projects for people doing little baby stuff, not
Yeah.
like real things.
Yeah, that's how you get started. I mean, that's why we.
Well, I'm not trying to be famous. This is how I get started, and it's where I want to stay. Like
Right.
little baby projects, not big things.
Maybe you should just
I
join
have
like a summer theater program if you just want to act.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good point.
Yeah.
Because I mean, doing like college shorts for
Yeah.
college students, that can be a very miserable experience.
Really?
Because they're 20 and they don't know what they're doing. And
That's true.
But then you're just an actor on someone else's project. That sounds great. Like, what are they going to do?
Yeah, except they just have nothing together. They don't know what they're doing.
They won't
at
feed
all.
you.
Yeah, you won't get food. You probably won't be acting most of the time. You'll finally step in front of the camera. You probably won't get any of that footage.
Oh, yeah. It won't be finished.
Oh.
Well, just speaking from experience.
It'll be
it's-
melodramatic. It won't be fun.
Yeah, that's true.
No comedies. No. Nothing fun.
I think that could be kind of fun.
I would
it sounds like
recommend trying the experience once.
like a train wreck worth trying.
I think theater is more fun. I think acting is on camera is great when you have like Kyle or like a good production that's funny, but like it can sink so much lower.
Yeah.
But like theater is just at a baseline. Like you're just in a costume,
Yeah.
backstage giggling and like, oh, it's my turn to go up. And
That's
like it's
true.
just way more fun.
I just have trauma related to theater acting.
I have a question. It might be impossible to answer, but I was thinking about it while we were watching the thing because it was 7 years ago and a very different vibe from
Yeah,
your current sketches. But I was wondering, like, if you could even answer where your head was at about like when you were writing that. Was it like you wanted to make a sketch, or was it like practice because you wanted to make movies? You were like trying to make a movie scene. You were still trying to like become Joss Whedon or whatever.
I don't remember. It never was quite that, but I did try to take advantage of the fact that I was making a new sketch every week back then by trying out some new technique. And I think I was trying to film in the dark for that one. I was like, I'm going to use this to learn how to like shoot nighttime scenes because I think we'd maybe tried the one with me and JP in the telescope out in his backyard.
Yeah.
Before that one.
That one looks
maybe.
good. That's a good looking video though.
Or maybe that was later. I don't remember. I did a few at night specifically to try filming at night because I had tried doing nighttime shoots and could never figure out how to make it work. So that was kind of a test for that. And I also remember writing it like a scene from Community. So I definitely leaned more into making it like a scripted scene from a TV show or something.
Because the jokes per minute ratio was way lower than
It was,
like
yeah.
a sketch we would do now.
It was definitely not written out the same way. And I don't think it did super well back then. Then it doesn't have a lot of views in
But
comparison
also,
now.
attention spans were longer back then.
That's-
Maybe that was just like the average video.
also
was
true.
People didn't need a joke every 0.5 seconds.
JP was in a lot of older stuff.
Yeah.
Like he's actually really prevalent in the beginning.
Yeah, that's true.
What happened?
He was, I guess, people were just more available at the time. It was just easier because we all lived in the same area of Cedar Park. So, even if you were busy, I could catch you during your 2 hours off one night or something and just drive over to your house.
But
I think that's what he did.
Matt wasn't in any of them, but JP was in a lot of them.
Well, we didn't
Oh, you went to high school with JP?
know each other that well yet.
You
We
went to high
hadn't-
school with JP?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And he literally lived down the road. So I'm pretty sure
Oh.
for that video, he just came over and sat in front of a green screen in my living room and I got his shots and that was it.
And then John was in Oklahoma, right? For
Yeah,
almost all
yeah.
of it. That's why he's not in them.
You can usually track. Yeah, the people who were in the videos are the people who were like near me. Like
That's still true.
That's what happens.
That's
how it works.
still how it goes.
But it was also pretty early, like green screen work that I thought turned
I thought
out
it looked really good. I thought he was in that room. I thought you made a set.
The other beneficial part of that game is that it was just JPEGs and like some really basic script that made it run. So it was really easy to just rip all the images out of the game. So that's all that is. I just took the actual images from the game, including like the animated fan in the background and everything, and was able to just throw it all in like as layers in After Effects. So it essentially was pre-made. It was one of the easiest green screen things I ever did. Especially because it was dark, so you just don't have to worry about anything.
You didn't make that like camera switching graphic. You just pull that off of Alpha Channel on the.
I think I might have taken that from the game too. Yeah, they may have had that just as like a PNG with a transparent background, and I just threw. Yeah, I just.
Oh, you're talking about like you went to the game files and grabbed
No,
the
yeah,
JPEGs?
sorry. Yeah, when I say, I mean, I literally opened up the game and took their images out of it, and then just used it in After Effects. That's all that I did for that video.
That's pretty good.
I remember you mentioning that you wanted to like flood the room, right? It was like you were like, I learned how to do dark scenes. You turn all the lights off, but then you like flood the area. With,
Well,
with
you
other lights.
crank the lights up and turn the camera brightness down, and that was my
right.
first realization of like, oh, that's how you get dark scenes without noise.
The problem is you still only had like two little cheap lights, so you
Right.
couldn't like flood the lights and then turn it down. So it's just really dark.
Because at the time we were using Jeffrey worked and I still works for the Texas government managing like their surplus stores. And so occasionally if something would come through, he would call me first and let me know they had gotten this stuff in.
Is that illegal? Should we be saying that?
I don't know. At one point,
You bought it.
I paid for it. He didn't just like hand it to me. But
Government doesn't like corruption. Like people, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
They might get very upset about
Kick you out real fast for that kind of behavior. But yeah, he just called me at one point and was like, I think I got film lights. Like somebody dropped off this like old looking tube and there's a bunch of lights inside. So I came and checked it out and it was like, I assume something they use for shooting like instructional videos or something. The oldest lighting equipment you've ever seen. It was the kind that, you know, like heats up and then catches fire to anything that it touches.
Yeah,
if
that was a weird thing because, like, I mean, I guess if you get professional enough, then like you do still have to worry about it. But when we went to the Art Institute and they made us buy like a bag, like a starter bag that had some DV tapes, gaff tape, you know, just like a duffel bag full of stuff, and there was gloves in there for handling lights because every light you worked with in 2011 was hot. There were no LEDs.
That wasn't a thing yet.
Either that or
prominently.
they were too expensive for the Art Institute to use. But now, like, lights just don't get hot. These don't get hot.
Well, and every time I tried to shoot with LEDs in the past, it was they would flicker. That was also an issue. It's because the cameras were too old.
Oh, yeah.
And their frame rates were weird, and they did the interlacing thing. So if you tried shooting with LEDs, everything would look awful. So the only option was to use these just these old style bulbs that were basically just heating gas as hot as you could get it.
Yeah, I remember this.
Yeah. So yeah, we used those for a while. Actually, for the first like year, we just didn't have lights at all. Like any of the early videos.
We'll just shoot outside.
I remember that. Actually, there's a whole career out of that for photographers.
Shooting without lights.
Yeah, they're called natural light photographers. It's like a whole thing. You just make a career out of never using artificial lights.
You can do that if you know what you're doing. Our natural light was a dim room.
Their natural light is also a dim room. It's not my favorite style of photography. But you can just claim that that's like your shtick.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
And for a while, our shtick was that our videos looked bad.
Yeah, in a charming way though. Like we all kind of missed that a little bit.
I guess kind of.
No, it was charming. It was achievable. You know.
Yeah.
Like, your videos were so sneaky because there was an element that felt like anyone could do it.
Yeah, that's true.
But no one could do the writing.
Yeah, the writing is what really stood out. Actually, I need to show you a video that I sent to Kyle, and he didn't get to watch either, about...
I watched it last night, actually. The dialogue, using dialogue as style, almost like you pick color and stuff. Like,
but it was also... It was specifically about how important it is to have dialogue that doesn't really sound like things people would actually say. And the examples were things like Juno and... Quentin Tarantino.
Gilmore Girls.
Gilmore Girls is a good example too. Yeah.
Gilmore Girls, yeah, because it helps establish characters and tone, and then also when you do, they specifically use Juno as the example. But when you switch to like different tonal scenes that are more serious, and then they start talking more like normal people, it feels much more dramatic because of the way they speak. Otherwise, and it reminded me of Kyle because all your videos have a very distinct, like we're even labeled Kyle's style because they were so everyone talks very fast. You put the emphasis on specific words, and I think it carried and still carries a lot of our stuff and why it's so much better than everybody else's.
Yeah.
Were you emulating anybody?
Yes, but it's people who like
you can hear it every time.
Are long gone at this point. Like it's people that I watched when I was growing up, and it was people on like Newgrounds who stopped making stuff forever ago. So it was like there was a guy called Legendary Frog that made these like essentially just talking head animations of like Lord of the Rings and whatever was popular at the time, The Matrix, like that mid 2000s stuff.
Yeah.
But a lot of our early videos have that vibe, and it still carries through now, where you have like the wide and then the two shots of the heads, and it's just that back and forth. That definitely comes from like early Newgrounds cartoons, from like that guy and from the dumb claymations from Nox that I used to watch. And then YouTube introduced like Julian Smith and a few other people that did like slightly more cinematic sketches that were like 2 or 3 minutes long that got mixed in there.
Yeah, I think comedy comes in like waves of I don't know. I think everyone was imitating animation at first, and that's why things were funny, like things that were funny, like successfully funny. Like
what do you
your
mean
stuff.
by at first? Like on the internet?
Yeah, because the first thing that did happen was like albino black sheep and those kind of things, and what
that was
Newgrounds.
The easiest kind of, because video, we always forget video was too big to show on the internet.
Right. So we did all the little flash things. Everybody was like, this is funny. And so then when we started doing people things on YouTube
That's actually a good point.
I think everyone was kind of doing it in the same way that like there was the Gus Johnson era too.
Yeah.
And you can even see some of that in our videos. And then there's actually a girl on TikTok who is really popular. She actually just exactly sounds like the same. I don't know what you call it. Like when like the way you emphasize and deliver all of your words sound specific was the word for that.
Inflection?
Maybe inflection. Also kind of like diction, maybe. She's got the exact same one as Amy Poehler. No, Amy Schumer. No, Amy...
Klobuchar.
Vagina humor Amy.
That's Amy
Is that
Schumer.
not Amy Schumer?
It is Amy Schumer. Okay,
Yeah.
it is. All right, so Amy Schumer, she just sounds exactly like Amy Schumer. Every way she delivers, every line she sounds exactly like Amy Schumer. And she's really popular, though, because she's not Amy Schumer, because if people remembered or caught on, they'd probably not like it. Every single thing she says sounds just like her in the way she delivers things. And it's funny, because Amy Schumer was popular, like really popular, because people thought that was really funny. And it's like humor will kind of come in these waves. I think yours has stayed very animation focused.
I think you're right. I'm 100% certain that everything about my voice has been me imitating a variety of other people, like people that I heard do similar content, people that I heard on podcasts. I just sort of like take things and absorb them.
Yeah.
And so for a while, I think it was more obvious because I had fewer references. Jason Steele was also a big one, the guy that did the Charlie the Unicorn cartoons, among other things that weren't as popular. But I watched his whole library.
Yeah. He was great.
Listened to his podcast at the time, and his like inflection and speech patterns definitely got mixed in really early, and you can see it in some of my animation stuff.
I feel like you could actually go through old videos and like literally clip people saying things that sound exactly like something else they've heard elsewhere.
Well, it's dialogue's just like music. Like you can trick someone into thinking something's funny with just like the patterns.
That's
of
what
the
I
voice.
learned. Well, I think that's what I ended up being good at by accident, because I'm pretty sure I could not make something like actually humorous. Like I could not write jokes and just deliver it in a certain way, and it still sounds like it's supposed to be funny. I think that's why a lot of people are like, I don't know the game, and I still thought this was funny. I was like, you probably are. I just probably tricked you. Is what happened.
Oh, the way you end the videos too is brilliant.
Yeah,
it's like punchline and then just like bring, and then it's just like the little sound thing.
Yeah, I don't remember.
And
who
I'm
stole
just
that
trained.
from. Oh no, that's Julian Smith, because he used to do a hard cut.
Oh really?
As well.
It's
Yeah.
just Pavlovian.
Pavlovo.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so it ends and it goes bing, and I'm like,
Yeah,
wait.
exactly.
Wait,
We even I think we even joke on that at one point, once
so
or
too.
twice in videos, about how like there's not even a punchline, but the sound makes you laugh because you've been conditioned.
Yeah, we're a lot more conditioned than we think. I was like on TikTok and I saw a pretty funny TikTok, but it had like 12 likes or something. And I was like, oh, I guess it's not that funny. Like, oh my God, wait, what's happened to me? What happened to me?
There's definitely just like the bored deadpan. Like there are definitely staples that I just like will pay attention to, and then I'm like, was that funny? Or like familiar.
Yeah, that's all.
thing.
Whenever like I hate comedy, it's like or a certain comedian that just makes me mad because people like them and I don't like that they like them. You know, just that childish stuff.
Right.
It's usually that where like they're not actually saying anything funny. They just have a funny voice. Shut up.
That's true.
I think it's time to go back to the basics with funny voices and pie gags.
Let's just make salad fingers too.
No.
First off, there's like 8 salad fingers.
Okay. All right.
No, I don't think we should go back to salad finger. We got to go back. Like, you know how like in 2019 people were like, you know, it would be really cool, the 50s, and everybody wore 50s. That was before 2019, but that was like 20. I don't know, whatever. And then we did the 60s, the 70s, the 80s for like a long time. That had like a whole at least like 7 years of fashion is like like the 80s coming back. So we need to do the same thing with humor, but we haven't gone retro humor yet. So we go all the way back to funny voices, puppets, and pie gags, like what is it, Three Stooges, that kind of stuff. That's funny again, because humor has gone like so convoluted.
It's gotten lazy.
It's ruined.
It's Judd Apatow's fault.
Who's that?
Judd Apatow?
Yeah, what
like
is that?
40-year-old virgin.
Is he also girls?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if he has
Why
anything
is
to
it
do with
his
writing. Well, I'm just thinking like I
blame
was contrasting in my head with like Buster Keaton, like it's the silent movie area where he had to like work so hard to make people laugh because like you couldn't say anything, so it's just elaborate sets where he's like falling off buildings and like ladders and car gags and crazy stuff is happening, and now it's just like put 2 people in a room, shoot them, and with crappy cameras, just lock them off on tripods, and then like it's like we need to bring effort back into comedy. Like,
I'm kind of interested in like the going back to that old school style. I'm actually revisiting a lot of that in my head as I'm working on this the magic videos that I'm doing, just because the format calls for it. So I'm even full on going like I'm already like I wrote like goblins into the script or whatever. I'm just gonna make them Muppets because that's funny.
It was funny.
Because nobody uses like nobody really uses like sight gags anymore.
No.
And I've always one of the reasons I've gotten
the CGI artist.
well, no, that's why I think that's actually one of the main reasons I got into CGI is because in a lot of our sketches, I wanted to end in something visual. Like my first instinct was always to make some kind of visually funny thing that reflected whatever it was we had been talking about the whole time.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of our videos end in like kind of like wider CGI shots.
Yeah.
Like you kicking me through a window or something, right? Like
That's love that shit. My favorite underrated humor, and it wouldn't work for very long because it's a little I don't know. Anyway, the comedy like fourth wall break because it's too funny to perform it well.
yeah.
Like
the SNL.
the Bill Hader.
The Bill Hader.
Yeah, Bill Hader, who absolutely killed this whole, like, every time Bill Hader is on screen, it's funny because he cannot keep it together because he thinks it's as funny. It's more funny than it actually is. And then Bill Hader laughs, and then I laugh because everybody's laughing because Bill Hader is great and charming.
Yeah.
And this has even happened on set sometimes, more with you than anybody else. It's just funny when people break. And like, especially if you keep the shot in where like you can kind of see they're about to break and then keep it in. That's some of my favorite.
That is fun.
My
That
go-to thought
cracks
is you
me up.
saying, I love the Mormo boats from that one.
I don't even remember that.
It was a mistake. You were supposed to say something about how you love the boat Mormons, and you say like, I love the Mormo boats. What was it? And that's the take I used for the video.
Some of my favorite moments in all comedy are scenes like that. I think it's actually why Venice is so successful. It's kind of his whole thing. He says every line
puppy
like he's
dog.
already laughing
that's
at
fair.
the next one. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just also psychology hacking because he's always just smiling. So
Yeah,
when you're
that's
watching,
true.
you're smiling too.
Yeah, that works for me.
So I really just want to know. I think the actual question is just like, what is the cycle of comedy? Like you were talking about, like fashion, like coming back.
Yeah.
Like what is the?
Oh, I'm not funny enough to know this.
What
I
is
don't
the
catch on till like
trends?
10 years later. I was
And if
the Gus Johnson one was so strong that I was able to identify it when it was happening,
Yeah.
which is just like schlubby, no effort humor with like
Right. So
kind of
when was the
same-
last time that happened in media? Then when was that popular before? Of just like
What's
schlubby
funny-
man with zero effort.
See, I don't watch
acts
anything-
Goofy. Is that like Dumb and Dumber? Like, are we talking like?
So I don't watch anything funny now. Like everything I watch
Right.
was funny. Everything I watch is still extremely funny, but was written a long time ago, like Community or The Office even, or
Right, but you're a long
Superstore.
time ago was mid 2000s or later still. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering if it goes even further past that because mid 2000s humor was
wait.
very distinct.
You're asking me for older humor, or are you asking me for what's
I'm
currently
trying to
the-
come up with like the cycle of like what is popular across the board comedy wise because like mid 2000s it was like being mean to people
Oh,
was
yeah.
pretty up there.
That was
That was like because like you said, Community, Arrested Development, all sitcoms were basically just around like who can one up each other with like insults and stuff.
Probably because it was so like societally groundbreaking. Like we weren't mean to each other then like we are now. Like Gen Z doesn't care. They're all bullies.
Right.
So like, but at the time we were all like really well behaved. So like the idea that someone could just say something so outrageously mean to you was like,
Right.
oh my goodness.
Or it was just like the writer's room era where like, you know, it was before Breaking Bad when TV had money. So it's just like, we're not spending any money on the show. We're just getting good writers to like say funny things as opposed to like Wayne's World or whatever.
Oh,
where like they
yeah.
had SNL give them $50 million to make
Yeah.
like an epic actual movie or whatever it is.
Even before like Community and that kind of stuff, there was like animated stuff still again, like The Simpsons and Family Guy. That took the world by storm. And that was just like, I don't know, a lot of Family Guy. I don't know anything about The Simpsons. I didn't watch a single episode of it, but a lot of the Family Guy
feels like a
gag
tentpole.
was definitely like just keep doing it till it's funny again. Like just Seth
Oh right,
MacFarlane-
just hit the joke over and over and over again until
Yeah, which has come back around, I think, to me.
Yeah.
Or maybe I just always liked it a little bit.
it definitely always appealed to you.
Yeah.
We need to use our superpowers of being old to like go back in our memory and find things that were funny on the internet in 2006 that
This
none
is
of these
why
kids
I'm asking.
remember.
This is exactly why I'm asking this
Do you
question.
remember
is
My Big
because
Fat
if we
Greek
can-
Wedding?
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but I know it exists.
The absolute funniest thing at the time was that Windex joke. Do you know
I
what
don't
I'm talking
remember.
about?
I watched it recently, but I'm forgetting.
The
Just
dad,
that Windex fixes everything. He just puts Windex on everything.
He just repeated the same joke over and over and over again.
Right.
And so everyone repeated that same joke over and over and over again in society. That lasted for like 3 years too long. But it was a really, like, it was a staple. Like, I remember it clearly.
Yeah, but we can't have that anymore. There's no like mass culture that we can all quote the same movie because we're not all watching the same.
Yeah, I
That's a
agree.
good point. That does make it hard that there's so like cultural experience. Like the internet sort of united people more than ever in that everybody could share the same experiences. And now it has done the opposite because there are so many of them that everyone gets divided up by like the individual things you're experiencing.
I think
very
I think
strange.
some of it still comes through. Like,
Something breaks through
Like
occasionally.
what? Name
but
a
only-
funny cultural meme from the past 5 years, from like a movie or something.
That's a good question.
yeah, it's definitely hard because I immediately think back to things that are just still funny. Like Mean Girls is still extremely iconic now and kind of has like, it comes in waves.
Yeah, and our generation quotes it all the time. But
Yeah, I'm
like,
trying to
what are the
think, like,
Zoomers
a
quoting?
pervasive thing that isn't like a random, video of a kid talking about corn or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
Like,
It's internet stuff.
yeah.
Right. Yeah, that's a good
I'm
point.
Googling. I need to. I'm just.
Yeah, like who's funny, trendy right
Because
now?
the stuff that punches through for your attention is only stuff that gets money dumped on it. So like
Yeah.
everyone knows that Marvel movies came out. Like that's the cultural knowledge because they forced it onto everyone, regardless of whether or not you wanted to see it.
Yeah, so who is Gen Z funny? Because like I would even say Key and Peele are also us. That's like our funny,
Oh yeah, no, they're old by now.
but they're still
different-
popular.
Well, yeah, but for
Because we're
entirely
watching
different
them.
things,
right? And because also you and I are still watching them, not because Gen Z is watching
Right?
them.
Yeah. But they've also
Probably
moved
couldn't hear
on.
me
Like
at all.
one of them.
What'd you
is-
find?
I was just googling like best comedies of the past 10 years, and it's maybe this is Google's fault, but it's like Lady Bird,
What?
That is not a
Silver
comedy.
Linings Playbook.
Gen Z's
That's not
fucked up.
recent.
Gen Z.
I think comedy just died. It's like we have movies with like The Rock and Kevin Hart where they do the same thing for the 9th time,
Right.
But it's like there's no 40-year-old virgins, there's no Anchormans
Right.
I think that's the
of this
problem.
generation.
I might even argue that it's like shock humor right now because like I'm trying to think of trends on TikTok specifically because that seems where like the humor is kind of coming from. It's definitely TikTok is the new YouTube and it will be for the future generations. But there was that trend going around where you rip the clothes off your friends.
Yeah.
Oh,
where you're
yeah.
just like casually minding your business and you're like, can I have a napkin? And then they go and they're like, yeah, sure. And they just walk over to their friend, they just grab the shirt and like rip it off their back. And their friend just like, dead fishes around. That is huge. Like it was a huge trend. I mean, it was very short, right? The trends were much shorter, but that kind of humor I see reoccurring a lot, which is just like, surprise, this is so fucking ridiculous that we're all laughing because humor died forever
Yeah.
ago and none of us know how to laugh anymore. So like we all just wait around till something can entertain our little pea brains and then we're like, ooh, I wasn't expecting that one.
We're rewatching BoJack right now.
Classic.
That felt maybe a little bit of
Actually-
like a larger cultural thing.
It's actually
think
older. That's still millennial. That's
still a
for
little bit
millennials.
older.
We're only talking about stuff made and catered to us.
Yeah, no, we're in the superhero generation. I googled like most profitable comedies of the past 10 years, and 1 and 2 are Deadpool 1 and 2,
Oh, no.
which is just like comedy versions of the superhero movies
Right.
that we all love.
Yeah.
Men in Black 3 is the third one. So like, yeah, there have been no good comedies
But who, like, I know
since
that
2010.
I know that I'm outdated, but who happened after Amy Poehler? No, Amy Schumer. Sorry.
What do you mean?
She was the last like big comedian I remember people were like filling out shows for.
Well, there's, like,
before she got canceled.
Aziz Ansari.
No, this is way before. This was way too long ago.
Schumer's after Aziz.
Yeah. Like that's what I'm saying is like who was the last person that like filled out?
Well, yeah, stand-up's also dying too.
Stand-up's
the internet's
That
definitely
might
ruining
be
dying.
everything.
part of it actually, because I do think there was definitely like a funnel for like stand-up comedians into movies and TV shows for a while, and that went away because for a long time it was like you would get your own Seinfeld, or you would at least get picked up to be in a movie even if you weren't a good actor because you were a stand-up comedian, and that worked.
Oh,
The
Dave
closest-
Chappelle is coming back. Actually, these are all just comedians that I think conservatives like. Currently looking at the most popular stand-ups right now, these are all people who died because our parents watched them and then like
So the
died
people
for
still
us.
anchored to old media or the conservatives.
It's Dave
who got it.
Chappelle, Chris Rock, Jerry Seinfeld, Bill Burr, Kevin Hart.
Yeah, these aren't new people.
Yeah.
No, they're not, but they're back.
Because the new comedians have podcasts and TikToks and YouTube channels, and they're not
I guess
on
that's-
Comedy
yeah.
Central.
Yeah, it really just isn't there. And
Kevin
again,
Hart is the #1 comedian right now.
no.
No, I mean,
Hard to disagree.
in terms of like hard numbers, like yeah, he like sells out stadiums and has $7 trillion. Like The people have spoken.
It's crazy. I guess Bo Burnham is also Bo Burnham might be the
Okay.
next
I think we may have found the only thing that actually fits an answer so
Yeah,
far.
the
He's pretty
YouTube
ubiquitous.
comedian.
Yeah.
he's like the what's the way to put it, like leagues. Like he can't be the standard for comedy because nothing is even close to like him or is replicated or anything.
This might be a hot take, but I also think Bo Burnham got incredibly lucky because he was on YouTube in 2007 or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Bo Burnham, 16 years old, did his shtick right
Yeah.
now,
No, it wouldn't work.
he
No.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
People wouldn't like love him like they do.
Yeah.
I believe that.
No, he just he rode the wave at the right time for sure. Which is usually, I mean, that's really all that ever happens. It's just that you happen to be the trend when the trend is happening.
But that's what, like he reminds me that you either have to be so old that you're popular again, like
Right.
who Dave Chappelle or Bill Burr or whatever, or you have to be so different that no one can even kind of replicate what you're doing to get attention. Like I would say, what was Bo Burnham's show?
His newest one?
Yeah.
Inside?
Nothing has ever been like Inside. That's just its own format.
Yeah, no,
of
I agree.
Comedy show / musical / whatever. So it either has to be like one of those two things to gain traction. You can't just like do stand up anymore unless you're like I don't think Gen Z is watching Dave Chappelle. Like I don't think
No,
that's
I
what's
think they
happening.
are.
You really? You
I think
think
Really?
they are. I think they are.
I don't know a lot
That's
of people
crazy.
watching like stand-up stuff anymore. Even
I don't know
like
if it's
traditional-
stand up.
You don't know
They just
Gen
want to see
Zers.
comedians on podcasts and stuff
I think
That's
yeah,
true.
I think-
Podcasts
and giving
are
their
big.
opinions.
I think that's kind of what it is.
That's
But
a good
it
point.
sounds like what I'm hearing is if we really just like we've waited so long to try and get with the times that if we just stick it out a little bit more, they'll just catch back up to us, and then we'll be
and
popular.
then it'll be popular.
I think that's possible. I think there's some truth to that because we are getting those comments now.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, oh, this was so great.
This takes
reminds
me
of
back.
10
Yeah.
years ago. Love those days.
Or we just have to well, this is a hard sell. We just have to like reinvent the new style of comedy.
yes,
Like I think
it
like
begins with us.
like-
we will create it.
yeah. I think of like Tim and Eric or whatever, which is just like that's the last thing I can remember. Where like this is just no one has done this.
Yeah.
This is just a new thing.
right.
Yeah.
And we got to figure out what that is into
Right.
it.
I do think a lot of it though comes into the like I think you brought up probably the best point, which is just there is no singular path anymore. It
Yeah.
has just broken off too much because it is more profitable. Capitalism finally figured out what the YouTubers kind of did, which is that you pick your niche audience that works out way better for you than if you try to like hit everyone at once.
It's the whales principle.
Yeah.
You know what? I remember asking Thomas like years ago, like years and years ago, before he even met Kate, probably before I met you. And I only dated funny people. Like it was really important to me that whoever I was with was like funny.
Yeah.
And I asked him because he dated, in my mind, extremely boring nobodies. And I was like, why don't you date funny women? And he was like, it's not like important to me to like be with someone who's funny. Absolutely mind blowing. But I was like, but you're funny. Like you care about humor. It's been a part of our lives forever. And he was like, yeah, it's not something that I'm like looking for. Like maybe it'd be a plus, but like for the most part, having a sense of humor is really irrelevant to
Yeah.
me. And that was crazy. But it kind of feels like that perspective has come back around. Like the things that are important, like I see a massive shift in culture with like iconic, like the icon rhetoric. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say that? Like someone,
celebrities.
yeah, like someone does something super shitty and then their people will be like, wow, that's low key iconic. Like that was great. Like that shit was like, who does that? That's so crazy. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
A little bit more when I say that.
I'm following. I don't have examples. I guess
It's this idea that being awful is like kind of great. Like because you did it like in a sassy way. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't that bad because it was like queen behavior, you know?
I think people are just like
Okay.
jealous that people are doing stuff. Like they see someone doing something that they would never do in their lives because it's super like,
Yeah.
brave or out there. And they're sitting there on their phones in their bedrooms, also not being brave. And they're
Yeah.
like, wow, I wish I could also like be brave.
I could totally see that. But I think people don't care about comedy as much. Like I don't think they think it's that important. Like the things that have become extremely important to what I can see for Gen Z specifically, like they're not trying to laugh. Like our generation was really trying to laugh. Like there was so much good
true.
humor of the early 2000s to the late 2000s.
Yeah.
Like I don't think they care. Like they want it to be artistic or unique or iconic or over the top, right? Like you go watch a Lizzo music video and the fact that it's just like, I don't know, looks like it cost $20 million. That's like so exciting. That's like, damn, that shit's crazy. Like, did you see that video? She literally went to space for it or whatever the fuck is like the gimmicky thing.
Yeah.
I actually just think the attention to comedy is like shifted. Like it's like,
Well,
why,
it's just not a category anymore. Because if you think about the history, it's like TV was like when it started. TV was a thing you put the suit on for, and everyone put on their suits and gathered around the TV to watch the people that are better than us do the nice show.
Yeah.
And then like comedy was subversive because it's like, what? They're making me laugh. This is crazy. And it
That's
existed
true.
in this other category where comedy was different from the status quo, which was the buttoned up status
Right.
quo. And now everything is ridiculous. Everyone
That's
understands
true.
that
That
everything is
really-
ridiculous.
Okay, so the answer then is Monty Python. We go back to being really stiff, and that's the humor.
Yeah.
Oh,
I think-
Wait, how did you get there from that? I'm falling behind.
Because Matt was talking about comedy being subversive. Like that's where comedy comes from.
What does that word mean?
Like counter to it's counterculture. Comedy is
okay.
comedy is going against the grain of what is expected. That's why it's funny. Is because it catches you off
Oh.
guard. And so if right now everything is absurd, then the funny thing would be like, the Ministry of Silly Walks or something, where it's like, or like the reverse of that, because they were actually doing the opposite, I guess. They were dressing up in suits, but then being kind of goofy. So that
Yeah.
it was like, oh, they're not being proper. How delightful. But yeah, I guess it's almost maybe it's not that. Maybe it's Airplane. Maybe it's time for new Airplane, where like everything is just played completely deadpan.
Yes.
And that's the funny.
I love those.
Which we've been having fun with, actually. I think even our more recent things that follow that trend are like that we've enjoyed are like The Last of Us or the Phasmophobia video. I think was actually one of the first examples of this that also took off, where we were trying desperately to come up with an idea for the Phasmophobia video, and we finally landed on, I'm just gonna make like the joke is just gonna be the fact that it looks weird that they like their spines bend in half and stuff, but the characters aren't gonna acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Because most of our comedy traditionally comes from us acknowledging something ridiculous, right? It's about other people acting like it's normal, and then one person being like, this is fucking weird, guys, right? And that's where like mid 2000s humor comes from. But maybe the new trend is flipping that and everything being ridiculous, and then just being completely deadpan in the face of absolute absurdity.
Yes.
Do you think Gen Z watches What We Do in the Shadows?
Probably.
I think that's a really good. I think that it's
That's a
new
decent
and it's
example.
trendy and it's popular. And it is kind of for all the reasons you're talking about. Like it's kind of counterculture. It's kind of indie. Like
it
not
moves in
everybody's
that direction
watching it.
though, where like the world is objectively crazy, but
It's
then the
funny.
characters are a little bit
Deadpan.
flat.
You said
in the,
deadpan.
yeah.
And like all of the delivery in that is so. It's almost like it's a little different than deadpan. It's like genuine, except for
Right.
Naja, who is like deadpan. But like it's almost funny because people are so genuinely acting like the things that are ridiculous are normal.
It's not a perfect example, but it's definitely moving in that direction, because the characters are still kind of wacky. They're still vampires or whatever, but like it also kind of lines up with something I've talked about, which is I don't know what it is. I cannot watch like just a movie of people like hanging out in a room. I just get bored. I just don't care.
Wait, name a movie like that. What example are you thinking?
What are some good examples? Like I feel like early 90s movies kind of did this, like
Slackers.
I haven't actually seen that. I was thinking even just stuff like The Breakfast Club or like...
Oh, yeah, okay.
Just like,
That's a perfect example.
Just casual real world movies where it's
Yeah.
just people living their life. I'm like, that's boring. But it's like, no. Those people are actually superheroes just not doing their job right now. And it's like, oh, then I'm 100% in, please.
Yeah.
Vampires on a Tuesday afternoon? I'm sold.
in.
You've talked about this. You've talked about absurd characters in mundane situations
Right.
as being I think that is actually
No,
trendy.
absurd situations, but like mundane moments, I guess, right? Like the best parts of Doctor Who are just him like chatting about something he did once while they're hanging out in the time machine in between adventures. Like it's the actual action parts.
Yeah.
So what we're getting at is like we just write a drama script, just a complete drama script. But then like I'm getting my coffee, and then like a T-Rex hands it to you. But no one's like, if you listen to it, then it just sounds
Wait,
like a drama
that's so
script.
funny.
That's
That's the
hilarious.
funniest thing
Yeah.
I've ever heard of.
And then we don't acknowledge it, and then it'll confuse people, and then we're back to the subversion.
I think this is a little bit of the
This is-
BoJack
wait,
thing
that's
too.
the
Is they're all
funniest thing
very
I've ever
normal,
heard.
but occasionally one of them is a bird and then just flies flies off, right?
Yeah.
And that's
no one acknowledged
fucking
it.
hilarious.
And then 10 years ago, they would have flown off and been like, that was random.
Right, exactly.
And, like,
Somebody
winked
pours
at
their
it.
coffee out and is like, I had one too many today, but it's like, no, now
we
it's just
we move on.
You just ignore it.
All right, we got to the bottom of it.
I think we did.
I want to do both now though, because like, can something be so bad that it's good again? Like if that happened, like if that joke happened and someone was like, oh, had one too many today and pours that, I would die. That's the funniest, like, cause it's bad. Like it's bad in.
Well,
like,
this is also
it's-
BoJack, right? They're just like, also, here's a really long pun.
But you know what?
Just because.
You know what? There was a TikTok where someone was like, Gen Z has no sense of fashion and they can stop trying to bully me because Gen Z will throw on a crop top and like a skirt that doesn't match and cowboy boots and call it fashion. And my first thought was like, that would look so good. Like that would look amazing. Like that's all. Like yeah, that's what looks good. But also I think they had a good point, and I think maybe humor is a little bit like that for me.
Yeah.
Where it's like when it goes back to bad again, I'm like, that's amazing. What a great like boomer jokes sometimes really get me. like did you say that? That's amazing. Classic. Love it.
Yeah.
It's been long enough almost that like dad jokes are like
Especially
iconic.
if they say it to a T-Rex in a tie handing them coffee.
Yeah, it's so funny. That's so funny. Maybe you just need one character like that.
I'm
Maybe
onto
that's
this. We should figure this out.
We're going to figure this out.
Yeah,
We're
this
on,
is
I think we're
brilliant.
onto something.
We should just end it here. We have a minute left, but who needs it?